Today, we're diving deep into a really dark criminal underworld that has just exploded out of the chaos in Myanmar. It's a world where, honestly, the price of your freedom and sometimes your life is measured in cold, hard cash and body parts.
It sounds like the plot of a horror movie, doesn't it? Lured, tortured, and then sold. But this is the terrifying three-act reality for thousands of people from all over the world who are trapped in these fortified scam centers right on the lawless borders of Southeast Asia.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, let's start with just one story. A single, tragic case that basically ripped the curtain back on this entire brutal operation.
So, picture this, a 26-year-old woman from Belarus. She has this dream, a simple one, of opening her own coffee shop. She gets what looks like a great modeling contract in Thailand, so she flies into Bangkok on September 12th. For a few weeks, things seem fine. But then, on October 4th, she goes silent. All contact just stops. And then, a little while later, her family gets a phone call that changes everything.
The people on the other end of the line were scammers, and they were calling from inside Myanmar. They told her family, straight up, that she was dead. They said her organs had been harvested, and if the family wanted her body back, it would cost them $500,000. When they couldn't pay, well, the scammers just claimed they cremated her.
So the question is, how on earth does something like this even happen? How do you go from a dream job to a death sentence? To understand that, we've got to look at the incredibly cruel and frankly efficient system these traffickers have built.
These operations are known locally as Kayar Fiant. You know what that translates to? Jackal snipers. It's a pretty fitting name for what is essentially a modern-day slave trade pipeline.
And the whole process is just cruelly methodical. It starts with an ad online that looks too good to be true, and it is. They fly you to Thailand, which is a totally normal, legitimate tourist spot, so you don't really suspect anything. But from there, you're driven to the border and smuggled across. A lot of victims, like this young Filipino guy named Gray, don't even realize they're in Myanmar until they see the flag flying over what is now their prison.
Once you're inside those walls, if you refuse to work or you just don't meet your scamming quotas, the punishment is just unimaginable. A Russian survivor, Svetlana, talked about how they literally show new arrivals videos of people being tortured as a warning. And the ultimate threat? It's always the same. If you become useless to us, we will sell your organs.
So who are these gangs going after? Well, they cast a super wide net, but they're really focused on English and Chinese speakers. And the reason for that is pretty simple. The scams are designed to rip off people in the world's two biggest language groups. That makes fluent speakers an incredibly valuable commodity for them.
But as absolutely horrifying as being forced into scamming is, there's a ton of consistent, terrifying evidence that that's only level one of this whole criminal enterprise. Survivor after survivor, they all tell the same bizarre story. The first thing that happens when they arrive, before they're even told what their job is going to be, is they're forced to get a full medical screening, including a mandatory blood test.
I mean, that makes you stop and think, right? Why would an operation that's just focused on running crypto scams or romance scams, why would they need a detailed medical database on everyone they've enslaved? It just doesn't add up. And the answer points to a business model that is way, way more sinister. Experts are pretty sure that these blood tests are being used to create a catalog, a living, breathing database of unwilling organ donors. So when some wealthy client on the black market needs a kidney or a liver with a specific blood type, the scammers can just pull up their list and pick a donor from their prisoners. And the money here is just staggering. I mean, sure, forced scamming makes them a lot of cash, but a single set of organs can go for up to $1 million on the black market. For these gangs, a human being is literally worth more dead than alive.
And listen, this isn't just some empty threat they're making. In July of 2023, a 22-year-old woman from Kenya was found dumped at a hospital in Thailand. She was unconscious, and she had these crude, botched surgical scars on her body. The anti-trafficking group that helped our case believes they were from a failed attempt to harvest her organs inside one of these scam centers. She never woke up.
So this all raises a really crucial question, right? How can these massive, fortified compounds holding thousands of prisoners and running billion-dollar criminal empires exist so openly? Well, the answer really boils down to the complete collapse of a state. After the military coup in Myanmar back in 2021, the whole country just descended into chaos and civil war, and that created a perfect power vacuum for organized crime to just rush in. This chart says it all, really. The number of these known scam compounds more than doubled in the years right after the coup.
These places operate with total impunity in these border regions that are controlled by different armed groups way outside the central government's control. And when you're talking about an industry pulling in an estimated $37 billion a year, there's more than enough money to buy the silence and complicity of local warlords and allegedly corrupt officials in the military junta.
So now, this whole thing has escalated way beyond just a regional crime problem. Because the victims and the targets of the scams are overwhelmingly Chinese and English speakers, the world's two biggest superpowers are starting to get directly involved.
And the situation is escalating incredibly quickly. In mid-November, Washington announced a new scam center strike force with heavy hitters like the FBI and Secret Service. Just 4 days later, Beijing comes out and announces its own six-nation coalition to tackle the exact same problem.
But here's the fascinating part. They are using completely different playbooks. The U.S. has a long history of taking matters into its own hands, launching covert raids to grab high-value targets. China, on the other hand, is playing more of a diplomatic long game, building this regional coalition that actually includes Myanmar's government, which gives their actions a kind of local stamp of approval.
And that leaves us with this final and really deeply concerning question. You have a country that is already on fire with a civil war. Could this hunt for criminals become the excuse for a direct confrontation between the U.S. and China on the ground? What starts as a crackdown on scammers could very well end up as a battle for influence, with the people of Myanmar, as always, caught right in the middle.
That's the latest from Diversity News. If you found this report insightful, like the video, subscribe right now, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update on the issues that matter.